Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to sift through different perspectives and hopefully uncover some insights.
Glad to be here.
Today, we're tackling a really, challenging and sensitive subject, the Jeffrey Epstein list.
Yeah.
And we've got source material that offers a very specific take on why information about it might be kept under wraps. It's a view that steps beyond the usual speculation.
Right. It includes some pretty surprising analogies, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So our mission today is really just to unpack this particular argument, the specific framework the source presents.
And it is a framework. What's interesting, I think, is how this source tries to explain the non-release by suggesting this broader context for government decisions. It's not just pointing fingers.
It asks us to think about a different kind of, maybe, rationale.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's dive right into the core belief here. This source basically says certain information is classified as state secrets and cannot be revealed for the good of the country. And they stress that this isn't just some vague idea. It operates on a specific principle involving high-level government figures.
That's right. The source claims specifically that the Attorney General, the FBI Director, the White House Cabinet, their staff, they've all collectively decided not to release this stuff publicly.
And the reason?
Because they genuinely believe it's what's best for the United States. That's the source's interpretation anyway. It points towards a calculated risk assessment, almost.
Like maybe the fallout from releasing it is seen as worse than the secrecy.
Potentially. That seems to be the implication in this particular view.
Okay, and this is where it gets really interesting. The source uses this analogy involving major military powers and private contractors.
Yeah, this is quite a conceptual leap.
The argument is that hiring contractors lets militaries, quote, cover gray areas and avoid liability under the Geneva Convention.
Essentially bringing in a third party.
Right, a third party, to handle unconventional tasks so the military can stick to the rules, at least directly.
And this is where the source connects it back, speculating quite boldly that Jeffrey Epstein may have been a third party in some capacity.
It's a really striking comparison, isn't it?
It is. And the source even notes it's puzzling why someone would be set up as a scapegoat for things that in this framework might not even carry direct legal liability for the hypothetical employer, so to speak.
So the analogy raises questions for the source itself.
Exactly. And, we should probably note here, while the source uses that Geneva Convention point, the actual legal situation with private contractors in international law is, well, it's incredibly complex, much more debated than that simple analogy might suggest.
Good point. Okay, so moving from that sort of theoretical side, the source also looks at actual political moves, specifically the Trump administration.
Yeah, it brings it into recent history.
The source suggests that their reversal on releasing the Jeffrey Epstein list indicates they initially wanted to, but then realized they couldn't win all their battles at once. Kind of a strategic retreat, maybe?
That's the perspective offered, yes. That this particular decision, holding back the list, could alleviate pressure on the current administration, allowing them to focus on the economy, for instance. It paints it as a political calculation, weighing transparency against other broader strategic goals.
So in this view, keeping things stable or focusing on the economy might outweigh the public demand for this information.
According to this source's line of reasoning, yes. It frames it as a choice made for what's perceived as national stability.
And then to sort of wrap it all up, the source offers this more reflective thought.
Right, the general statement.
It says, we are all human and make mistakes. It's one thing to see a car, but driving it can be much more complex and difficult.
Yeah, it's a kind of poignant way to end their argument, isn't it?
It does feel that way.
Maybe hinting at the sheer difficulty, the immense complexity of making these huge decisions that affect everyone, especially when you're dealing with, well, state secrets and this idea of the good of the country.
So yeah, this deep dive really dug into one specific source's argument, a very distinct reason for why sensitive info like the Epstein list might be held back. It asks us to look at it through this particular lens, state secrets, strategic government moves, rather than maybe the simpler explanations we often hear.
Definitely a different perspective.
Yeah.
And it leaves us, and you listening, with a pretty significant question to chew on, building on these ideas.
Okay.
How do we really strike that balance between the public's right to know, the demand for transparency, and these claims of national interest or state secrets?
Yeah.
Especially when the information itself is so incredibly sensitive and impactful. Where's that line?